Now we will move to our third Thinkathon session, Candidate Experience for Today's Talent. Please welcome Kaimal Vinoo, Senior Director, Head of Talent Acquisition, APAC and SA, and HR Services at Sapiens. I haven't finished. With over 2 decades of leadership spanning consulting, product and services, Vinoo has mastered the art of talent strategy. As a Senior Director and Head of Talent Acquisition, he has been vocally advocating for transformative power of technology in recruitment. And I'll stop now and let you present. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Mike's working, I believe. Let me start with asking you a question. When was the last time you got excited about a process that you applied for, a company that you applied for? Not grateful that you heard back from them, or not not to the extent of understanding the role was not suitable or not, and then getting rejected earlier, but thanking the excitement of it, that this process continued regardless of what the result was. How excited were you? Maybe a recall about one of the companies that you had applied for earlier? None? Shout out. Educational startup, okay? Wonderful. Fair. Any other firm that comes to the mind? All right, fair. Now, as a customer, when you think about some of the apps or products that you had taken services from, does Swiggy or Zomato come to your mind that they were looking at you at a very different level, keeping you engaged all the time whenever you were not even looking at their products? Yeah? Why is that? From the shift was that you moved it from a candidate to a customer. And what we're trying to do here is to seek an upgrade to our services to look at this particular crowd, the candidate crowd, to be moved as a customer, and to design a workflow which would be a customer-ready aspect of it. Now, I had the honor to sit with 7 brilliant minds from this crowd, in fact. Shout out to my team. Thank you. And we've jotted down some of the extracts that we thought would be helping us to journey this process as such. Let's delve into that. So we identified 4 phases of problems that we could find in a customer engagement. One is the incubation phase, and we all agree, we are all talent acquisition folks here. Engagement starts much earlier to the interview stage. It is beyond when you have a role which is open for hiring. You'll have to cultivate this passive talent. Now, getting to that passive talent, you will have to identify areas where you can reach out to them. Yeah. So, and these are things which probably one of our earlier speakers would have spoken as well. There should be some engagements where you could have a tech-driven aspect which talks about the company, the leaders in the company, and when a candidate is identifying a particular department as their interest areas, there should be a personalized, customized feed for them. And our solutions are going to be oscillating between tech and human interface as such, primarily because most of us spoke about the tech interventions which are helping us to sort out, where we can do away with some of the mundane activities. But the other side of it, how much does a candidate interest is gauged? How much does he or she get interested when it's only a bot talking to them? So it is also a reflection of how we want to take our brand across to that particular candidate. So here, when you look at the interventions possible enabled by tech, it would be the messaging that you can have for a larger community, and it could be about leaders who are in that particular department versus and somewhere we'll have to nudge them with an open set of positions which are available for them, who can for them to apply to. Now, while we do this, there is also a section where are we prepared for any questions that come by. One of our distinguished speaker here spoke about having a training academy inbuilt. And this is exactly what we are coming to as well. We should upskill ourselves as recruiters to identify areas where tech can enable us to reach out to this particular customer / candidate in a better way. Maybe to do trainings with them, to identify areas where you can build in a kind of repository that you can run to. Give tech the idea of a particular skill set, and it should throw you intel about that particular location or a skill set which can suffice for your requirements. Some of these points are already discussed, so I'm going to skim through. The next phase which we identify is the interview phase. And this is heavily going to be tech-driven. The tech should actually, source, screen, and some of the tools that we've spoken about earlier, stack rank, and communicate. And this particular part, the communication part, is by far identified as the most disengagement prone area for a candidate, because as recruiters, we don't reach back to, not because we don't want to. It's surely because of the volume of which we've been thrown at. This is the top end of the funnel that I'm talking about. You've got one position open, you will have 10,000 CVs. And to get that sorted, to identify the 5 or 10 profiles that you need to engage with in a better way so that you can have an ROI, that is what tech should do for us, is the point that we discussed. Schedule interviews so that the turnaround time should come down. Automate the feedbacks, and I'm sure most of us have this problem. The feedbacks have been like, 3 words: not good enough or good to go. But how much of this can be, scripted by a bot itself, scripted and then given to the panels saying, this is what we have identified, is it okay to go? And it goes into a repository at a click of a button as well. So this should be something which is tech-driven. Now, as a panel, it's not that their schedules are often available for a scheduling bot to do. So I think that needs some effort from the human side as well to identify and talk to them about what are the times available for them to get interview further. There are always these problems of panels not being up to date about what is the JD about, and probably they're talking about Java, but how much depth of Java is required for a particular candidate, and where they're rejecting somebody which is probably going to be a good fit for the firm as well. So clarity on the JD as a snippet to them, etiquettes about how to manage a candidate. It's not that they're rude about it, but due to their pressure as well, the work pressure as well, they would probably forget about some of the requisites that is needed. A nudge would possibly help as well. Also, the tech can actually throw questions which can be a probable good question for an interview as well. Going further, at an offer phase, this is again a balance between tech and humans. What would support is a tool which gives a full set of documents which needs to be uploaded by a candidate, and often the tools don't talk to each other. Something which where we at an interview phase we take in the documents would not possibly be talking to a tool which does payrolls at a later point or a background verification at a later point. So we tend to in fact ask for these documents again, which is again a clear disengagement for the candidate later. So something which talks to each other, and some of these solutions we've been always discussing about, does this one tool exist? No, it would not. Not at the moment, at least. It would need a couple of layers which talks to each other, and we need to identify those tools, at least for the time being, till probably 2029, where Vishwa's bringing up some tool which can talk to, which can run the whole mile. Later, again, the survey, a Net Promoter Score survey, which would, just after the interview at offer stage, which would talk about how was your interview, would be probably one of them, or possibly a different question saying that according to how we have treated you, how would you be comfortable referring this firm to another friend of yours? That would give a clear picture about have we engaged you enough or in a respectable manner for you to actually take it to the next person. Again, I said, the balance between the human front here is that the explanation of the growth path for the candidate, the compensation and benefits would be should be available for them to look at. Some of these are discussions which needs to be done on a very personal basis because it's a very private stuff which you're talking about, a compensation and stuff. Net, you extend a white glove experience to that particular individual and move further. Last point, take probably 10 seconds on this. This is a factor which is heavily on the human front, and this is when you have identified the right candidate for you to engage fully, and a personal message, a handshake, a meet with the leader, the plan for the next week as such, welcome kits, and these are feel-good factors for a candidate when he was joining in a new firm. What can help is the customer satisfaction surveys, which would possibly give you a good feedback about how successful you were through that journey. Net, as I said, we would want a customer this particular solution would need to be a dedicated app interface for a candidate, which would be having a seamless end-to-end view of the hiring status and in a real-time basis. Thank you.
You mentioned NPS, right? NPS, what stage do you intend to do? Do you intend to do right after the interview, or do you intend to do after a certain steps in the process, or the entire process getting through? Because your NPS could break any time, but your NPS, the timing of NPS also means that there could be a potential bias coming in when the feedback is given.
It can, yes, yeah. I agree. But I don't think there is a full-fledged solution to it unless you break it into a couple of iterations that you have to do it. Even after getting to a closure, if it's a select, then just move it to the next level where probably if it's an offer or a reject, then do it is the thought process. So that at a closure time is when you probably quiz this question as to if from the engagement or the journey that you've been through, would you refer us to a friend of yours? Then that would be an area that you can actually.
When you say close, have you given the feedback that you're selected or rejected? Is what I'm trying to understand. So that makes a big difference in the way I respond to your survey, right? So where do you want to do the NPS?
Yes. So it's after the closure. If it's a reject, it has to be after the communication, so that even if it's not going to be great. I mean, it's always a respectful discussion when you have with a person who's a reject as well, because 90% or more than that would be people who have been rejected in your process, and if they are converted to a brand ambassador, that's the more larger population to take back.
Sorry. I would say statistically, you want to do an NPS or a feedback score, because your NPS, your weightage of rejects could be more, and that could play in heavily on your score.
Correct, but it would change the game if in case the engagement was good enough. So that particular percentage would get converted to a good rating as such, saying that yes, I've got rejected, but I'm going to just make sure that one of my friend is getting interviewed here because sheer way that the journey went through.
Thank you.
I think it was very well planned the way you took the whole process through.
Thank you so much.
In terms of where the human intervention comes and where the tool intervention comes, where we need AI versus where we still need to have a certain level of human interface, right?
Correct.
Again, we are all still at the initial stage of what do we need at this point of time for talent acquisition, and this is like, the icing on the cake. This is where we want to be. Like what Vishwanath just said, 2029 probably will be there. But otherwise, overall, I think it's a great thought process.
Thank you so much.
I just want to differ a little from what he said is in terms of NPS. So long as there is no bias in the system, because you're trying to remove the biases with the interview tool, I think candidates are going to be a little more comfortable giving an honest feedback even if the person is
Exactly.
rejected. But probably the rating criteria could be a little different because you know you're going to expect not a great feedback since the person is rejected.
Yeah.
Versus how positive a feedback could come from a prospective select.
Yes. Agree. Was there a question? No.
No, I think
Thank you.
Good.
You beat him up rather. Thank you so much.